Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wine, Women, and Words. I am Michelle, and with me, of course, is Diana. And this evening we have Stacy from, mind blank, gone. Coffee and wine. It needs to be a thing. We have fellow bookstagrammer. That's what I wanted to say. Stacy of Prose and Palette joining us this evening. Welcome.
And
Thank you.
You also have a book blog as well, right?
I do. It's the same name. It's Prose and Palette.
Okay.
I was distracted by the blank space here, and it threw my entire train of thought off. Anyway.
So, what's everybody drinking tonight? Since we need to get started on that, because we need our alcohol.
I went back to Dark Horse just because it's been a while since I've had that, and I love it. That's like
I am drinking a Pinot Noir, and it's La Crema. It's my favorite.
Oh my gosh! Pick up that wine glass because that's adorable.
Oh, it's a bunny.
How cute! Absolutely love it.
It's a bunny.
Did your wine come today, Diana?
No, it did not, and I'm very upset by this because I decided to take advantage of our 10% off for the California Wine Club, and it was supposed to come today. I thought it was going to come tomorrow. Then I got a notice that it was going to come today. And I was all excited about it, and I kept texting my husband every half hour, going, "Did it come yet? Did it come yet?" And when he left for work, he was like, "Your wine hasn't come yet. I'm really sorry," because you have to have an adult present to sign for it. And so I went and looked up on the website, and they said they attempted to deliver it, but there was a road closed.
Oh no!
I'm in California, and unless there's a major fire going on around me, there's no road closures. So I even called them up, and I'm like, "What road was closed? I don't know."
Tell me what stopped you from bringing my wine.
Do I need to drive over there and get it myself? Because I will. This isn't an issue. But it's going to come tomorrow morning and wake my husband up, so he's going to love that. So I can't wait. I'll have to do maybe a Facebook Live when I open the box and see what I get.
Yes, you have to do like those videos that everyone does of opening the packages of books. You have to open a package of wine.
Yes.
I'm going to do that because they tell you which wineries they use, but they don't tell you what wines you get.
Oh.
So, but you get to say if you don't like a particular wine, you can put in, "Please don't send me any of this type of wine," and they'll do that, and you can choose if you want a red or white and a white, or just whites or just reds. So it's really custom made.
Is there cheese in this box too?
No, it's just wine.
That would be wonderful, though.
A wine and cheese box. Yes. Oh yeah.
It would be wonderful, but I'm taking pride in the fact that this is a small business that's doing this.
Oh.
And they support other small businesses, other small wineries here on the West Coast.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes, so it's California Wine Club. Yeah, cawineclub.com to go to.
Okay.
And then our promo code is www.podcast, and you get 10% off.
Well, I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, absolutely. But the one I ended up going with today was Chateau Liesseau. Did I say that right, Michelle?
Let me see.
I'm trying to learn French. It's spelled L and then a little apostrophe OISEAU.
Chateau Loiseau.
Okay, I was close. Man, they're gonna hate me when I go to France because my pronunciation is gonna be horrible.
Hey, you try, and you get points for trying.
Yes.
That's what I told myself.
And anyways, this is a Bordeaux, which is actually it's got a nice little kick to it, and I'm really enjoying it.
Well, tonight is the first night in I want to say almost 2 weeks that I got the kids to bed at 8, back on their routine, and they've just been driving me crazy. So I was so excited to come downstairs. I was like, oh, what can I do? I can watch whatever I want. I tried. Stacey, do you watch Game of Thrones?
I don't.
Yeah.
Okay, neither do
I'm like the only person on the planet who doesn't watch it, I think.
No, found your like person here, and Michelle, did you try again to watch it?
Okay, we have the first season. I have tried to watch the first season probably maybe 5 or 6 times.
Mhm.
And just because everyone is talking about it, since I know the
Yes.
last season just started, I was like, all right, I'm going to try this again because I keep falling asleep during it. And I know somewhere out there someone is cursing me for saying that. But it really isn't a reflection on the show. It's a reflection on me being horizontal on the couch.
Right.
But I'm trying again. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe I just need to skip the first season. I don't know.
I think that of the 4 seasons that I watched before I said I had enough, or was it 3 seasons? I don't remember. But I think the first season I liked the best out of all of them. But you remember, I think you might have remembered when I read the book, Michelle, because we were in the office together and I threw it because I was so angry with it. I nearly got in trouble for reading on the job. So,
well, we'll see what happens. But I got excited. And then I just finished Into the Water by Paula Hawkins, which is...
How did you like it?
Oh my gosh. Are you reading it? Have you read it?
I haven't read it. I've been cautious about it because I've read very mixed reviews. A lot of the book accounts that I follow have not cared for it, so which surprised me. So I have not. I've kind of put that one to the bottom of my pile.
It's real. I really liked it. It's not so much. It's not.
There are a lot of characters. It's very character.
Okay, there's a ton of characters. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's like 6 to 8 points of view that you're reading about.
Oh wow!
So, and
a lot of points of view to keep track.
It's a lot, and some of the time you're just kind of reading, going, okay, I just need to know what happened. Like,
right,
a lot's going on, but once you get to the end and you can kind of feel like the tension start building, and you know that you're getting to the end of it. I really liked the ending. I didn't really see it coming. It's not a thriller at least not, it didn't seem to me to be a thriller like, oh my God, what's going to happen next? It was more like a murder mystery.
Right.
But I liked it. I thought it was good.
I think that's so unfortunate too. For a lot of these books, they're marketed as thrillers, and so you go in expecting something, and then you get into it, and it may be more just like suspense or, like a slow burn mystery. It's not so much of a thriller, and that's always a letdown to me if I'm going in expecting, something really tense. I wish they wouldn't market them that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there seems to be this general just catch-all where, it's not romance, it's not historical fiction, it's gonna be a thriller.
It's a thriller, exactly.
I think the last thriller that I read where I was like, oh my God, was Reconstructing Amelia.
Oh, that was excellent.
That book, I was like, I could not put down that book.
It was excellent. That was a really good book.
And that was definitely a thriller. I would definitely classify that as a thriller. But Into the Water, I would say is more of a mystery. But I don't know, maybe mysteries, when people hear mysteries, they think like Agatha Christie or
right.
Which I mean, I've read those books. They're very good.
Yes, they are.
I need to read some Agatha Christie. I haven't read them yet. I'm very curious about them, but I need to read them. But now you all see why we had Stacy on the show with us, because we have the same taste in books as she does, and some of things we didn't even know she had the same taste in.
Yeah, that was not planned.
Yeah. Surprise.
So
have you? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say one of the wonderful things about the Instagram community, because especially when it comes to the bookstagramming portion of it, there's like such a small community of like people within the social media group that you just end up connecting because of books.
Mm-hmm. I've met some wonderful people on there. In fact, one of my favorite accounts, it's Courtney's Bookshelf, and then Kate Olson with the Loud Library is her account. And it's just really neat to meet people that share your same interests and get as excited. Because like I'll be talking to my friends about books and I'm like excited and doing this, and they're just kind of looking at me like I've lost my mind. So it's nice to get on Instagram and see this excitement, and everybody just shares it with you, and to find people that have the same tastes as you. I've really enjoyed it. It was a huge surprise to me. I did not know that the community was as big as it is and as passionate as it is about books.
Yeah, and there are some serious photography game when it comes to books.
Oh, some of them I'm like, they have to like live in the restoration hardware store. I don't like some of these places. I see these pictures and they're gorgeous. They're so gorgeous, but like, where do you get all these things? It just blows my mind. Like I'm proud if I have like a coffee cup and some flowers, and then you get those accounts that are just like, I mean, they're stunning. They look like magazines. It's just.
And with like the string of lights and the old typewriter and.
Yes, I love the string of lights. I'm like, I wouldn't even begin to know. I would probably
have the patience to even get those lights out, because then you have to get them out and plug them in and then unplug them. It's too much work for me. I have a little box.
Untangle it. Yes.
I'm like, I got OxyClean and diapers. I can make that work.
Put the dogs in there,
Yeah, I stick to like coffee and flowers, and I'll do. We have a lot of really just neat buildings in the area, so I like to go around there and photograph there. But that's really it as far as my backdrops and my pictures.
Yeah, I see. I use my pool. I use the wine corks.
Yes.
And little odds and ends that I find: teacups, wine.
Mm-hmm.
I know. I wander through the house going, all right, what can I use that I haven't used a million times over again?
Well, now, like when I go to my friend's house, I bring bags of books, and they're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "This looks really good, so I'm just gonna sit right here real quick." And they're just like, "Okay." I mean, they just think I've lost my mind. But you never know. I always travel with a bag of books in my car, because you never know. You might see something like, "This is perfect. I have to stop."
There's always a book in my purse, at least once.
Yes.
And yeah, I had a friend who laughed at me. She's like, "Is this why you have more than one book in your purse at all times?" I'm like, well, one is for reading, and the other one's really just a journal, and then the other one's for if I have to jot down any ideas.
Right.
Yeah.
Readers have like very specific tools.
Yes.
Readers and writers. It's like, well, this is my current read. This is the book that I want to read if I happen to finish the one that I'm reading right now. And this is the backup if I don't like the new book that I brought with me. I need something else.
Right. And I have my Kindle attached to my phone in case of emergency. You never know. You might be stuck at the doctor's office. You forgot your book. You've got a book there on your Kindle.
That's right.
I've got to always have the Kindle backups.
Got to be prepared.
Yes. Long lines at the grocery store.
Long lines at the grocery store for me is like, okay, no tantrums. Stop grabbing the candy bars off the shelves. Don't touch the magazines. That doesn't belong to you.
I actually have the ability to be lazy and read or text while I'm in line at the grocery store. And then usually in the middle of the text, I'm like, oh crap, I forgot this, and I have to go take off and get something else.
I remember wandering through Target just because I could. It was good times.
That's the best. That is when you can go to Target by yourself, there's nothing like it.
I'm going to go down the hardware aisle just because I can. I don't even need anything from there.
Yeah. I got so annoyed. My husband wanted to go grocery shopping with me last week because we had the party. He's like, I want to make sure we get everything that we need. And I'm like, I have a system. I don't need you shadowing me. I was so annoyed at first. I was like, but I don't go with anybody. This is my alone time.
It's true.
So this week, I know we're still working on Girl in Disguise, which Stacy started reading when we kind of, I don't know how it happened that we did we start following you? I don't know how we met, but we met and we decided that we had to have you on our show.
Yes. I think I reached out to her actually before we get into the book, because we can talk about the reason why I reached out to her and why I wanted her to come on the show is because one of the things that she put on her profile on Instagram was that she's a child literacy advocate. And I was like, okay, we need more information about this. And I know we've got other listeners who are moms out there who, would, like to hear more about this and could, learn from this. And child literacy is so important. And
it is. And I live in Louisiana, and we have an extremely low literacy rate. In fact, I just did some quick research before I got on because I wanted to be accurate, but 77% of the fourth graders in the state scored below proficient in reading.
Wow.
77%, that's insane. So it's a huge issue here in our schools, and it's an issue for me personally. My son just turned 8, and as they come up through pre-K and kindergarten, you notice things when they're learning their letters, when they're learning to write, and he would write complete sentences backwards. And he would flip his letters a lot, and he just really struggled with things that his classmates seemed to pick up quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But when they're young, when they're 4 and 5 and 6, you can't really get a definitive diagnosis. Mm-hmm. So we had everything from some teachers would say, well, we think he may be dyslexic. And then I had one teacher, y'all, it crushed me. I mean, as a parent, at a parent-teacher conference, she just told me that he wasn't intrinsically motivated. And I'm
Why do you not jump across the deck?
Well, it just, I was just like, well, I'm, 40 and I'm not always intrinsically motivated. He's 6, so that's okay. But, I don't know. But it's such a vast, spectrum. And then when he finally, this year, we were able to test him. And when we tested him, it turned out it's mild, moderate, severe, and he's severely dyslexic. So at that point, we were like, okay, well, at least we know, and now we can develop a plan and move forward. And we were fortunate enough, and they do that. He's in a private school here. In public school, they screen for that. And we're fortunate enough that we have a specialist that works with him. But it just was to me, for someone who loves to read, it's just so hard to watch your child struggle with, the most basic of books. And so it was very eye-opening for me. And anything that I can do to help other kids or parents who are in the same situation. I'm by no means an expert at all, but just to kind of get any information out there that I can, if you see these signs, maybe you should think about this. Because we, for really 3 years, it was a back and forth thing. And when you're in school, this is supposed to be fun. Kindergarten is supposed to be fun. You're supposed to want to go. And he wouldn't. And that was just really hard for me as a mom. When you drop your kid off at school, you want to know that they're excited to be there. And he wasn't. And so that was it's just been a really long road. But now that we have his diagnosis, we are working with the Barton system. And it's actually a woman in California who developed it. And it's she has a whole program. So if you homeschool your children, you can actually go and train and learn how to use this system if your children are dyslexic. And then the school that he's in now, that's the system they use across the board to teach children how to read. So it won't be like he's, singled out
Mm-hmm.
in anything because the whole school uses it to read. And so I don't know a whole lot about it because we just started tutoring with that within the last few months.
Mm-hmm.
But I can tell you in the last 2 months, he's gone from like almost a 0% reading fluency to now he can pick up a book and he can look at the sentence and read it and not hesitate. So it's amazing. It's amazing. It really is amazing. And so I don't know. The whole thing has just been very eye-opening to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's really crazy. I just pulled up the website for the Literacy Project Foundation,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think I really realized how big of an issue literacy was, but it has some like quick statistics, and it says that 50% of adults cannot read a book written at an 8th grade level, and 6 out of 10 households do not buy a single book in a year, which, like, for me,
What?
I buy a book like almost every week. Maybe not really,
Right.
but
Right.
Well, even I get so many books, not just from purchasing, but like from, because I do with the advanced arcs and things.
Mm-hmm.
I get so many books, and my husband's like, seriously, more books? And he's like, you get another book in the mail. And he gets a little jealous of me, but yeah, 6 out of 10 households just don't even buy a single book. I'm like, but I mean, I get if somebody's not really into reading, but I mean, come on, you gotta. Does the TV Guide count as a book?
but
I mean, there's got to be at least one book or two, or yeah. And I did a little research too before the show, and dyslexia in and of itself is something a major part of what's going on in the country too. Where I was reading a statistic on kidshealth.org, and they said it affects 15 to 20% of Americans.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
that must be so frustrating for a child who is trying so hard to figure out what they're seeing.
It was, and it was because he would do his schoolwork and then he would come home and I would work with him at an hour minimum every night, and he's still at the end, like we would both just basically be in tears. And so finally, when we got the official diagnosis from the psychologist, and I was, because then you're, as a parent, you're like, okay, well, how do I explain this? What do I say? Because his self-esteem was already so low as it was. And so, I just told him, I was like, well, maybe I said it just means that your brain sees words differently on the page than mommy's brain does. And he was like, Mom, I've been telling you that. And you're just like, I know, I'm so sorry, but like it just bless his heart. So I don't know. I love to read, and for him to not want to read a book, it was just very hard for me. And so now that we have the plan and we're moving forward with it, and he is actually seeing that, like, oh, this is fun. Like, if you can do it and understand it, because for him, when he would read, he's not reading to comprehend or retain it. He's just trying to read the word. That's it. He's not even to the point of processing it in a comprehension type setting. He's just attempting to read the word. So by the time you get to the end of the sentence, I mean, he can't tell you what the first word in the sentence was. So that's a whole nother issue. And it started affecting his math as well, because now they're having word problems. Well, he's brilliant in math. He can do math. He can do math better than I can do math. But now that they've introduced these huge word problems, his math grades tanked.
I don't blame him on that, because word problems blow.
Yes, word problems are terrible.
I actually had a learning disability with math, where I wasn't dyslexic when it came to numbers, but it was always a struggle. always an issue, and to the point where we had to have tutors for me just to pass my exams. And we had the Regents program in New York, so you had a yearly exam that you had to pass in order to go on to the next grade level, and I always had to have tutors for that. And yeah, I just the word problems, I think out of all of them, were the absolute worst.
Oh yeah.
Besides, who really gives a crap about
Right.
where a train's going to go, and how does that relate to the fact that you've got 3 bushels of apples?
Exactly.
Now.
That's exactly right. Well, and another thing too that I found, and then I did research on that, and I was like, this is brilliant. Every town should have this. We have a huge 85-pound beast of a dog. His name is Louie, and he's a rescue. But Ryzen, my son, will read to him. And he'll do that even if it's if it's not fluent, if he's struggling, he'll read to him, and he reads to him, and he's not stressed out, he's not like really anxious when he reads with me. So I was like, okay, well, this is something, so, and I did some research, and they have these reading to rescue programs where the like local shelters will bring in rescue dogs, and they'll bring them into the schools, and the kids can read to them. And so I'm looking into that. We don't really have anything like that in our area. We do at one of our shelters on Sundays. It's kitty literature, and you can go and read to the kittens.
Oh, I'll go do that.
It's the cutest thing ever. Like, you go in there and you have like 20 kittens in your lap, and they're just climbing all over you. And so we do that a couple of Sundays a month, and he absolutely loves it. So I'm trying to figure out a way to incorporate all of that, and maybe with the schools, get something going, because I think kids respond to that. Kids will respond to a dog or a cat a lot better than an adult. It just, for whatever reason, with my son, it just puts him at ease. It's like there's no pressure. They're just hanging out with them. So that's something I'm very interested in as well, and trying to get that going.
When you're a kid, that's when you really, I feel like that's where you find your love of reading. I know that's where I found my love of reading, and where Michelle found her love of reading. So, at least connecting it to those places where, he can associate something good with it, like the dog or the kitten.
Right.
I think that's wonderful. And it's funny you mentioned reading to dogs. Actually brought back my earliest memory, which is, I think, one of the earliest signs I was going to be a writer and such an avid reader was when I was little, about younger than him, I think 5 or 6. I was obsessed with Teddy Ruxpin. I don't know about you guys.
Yes.
Yes, Teddy Ruxpin was the best.
Yes.
And I had a grandfather with Alzheimer's disease, and he was bedridden, and at the time he couldn't talk anymore. So I remember my earliest memories are of me taking my little chair, 5-year-old me, in a little 5-year-old chair, and my Teddy Ruxpin books, and I would read to him. And even before I could really comprehend the words, I tried to remember the story. And I would tell these elaborate stories to my grandfather and just sit there and read to him. And that's one of my fond childhood memories. So I mean, just the idea of reading to somebody or something is just such a good memory that he'll have later on.
Right.
When he's in his 30s, he'll be like, "Oh, I remember when I used to read to my dog."
Right.
That'll be a sweet memory and something good associated with reading.
And are the schools receptive to those kind of ideas, or are they a little resistant to like
No, they are. And I know in the public schools they have, a whole setup for that, and the 504 plans and all that. But we're just the zone. We're divided into school zones here, and the school that we're zoned for is just. I just don't feel comfortable sending him to that school. So we sent him to a private school. But I will say, when we met with them, I was a little apprehensive, because you just don't know what they're going to do, because they're not required but the state has to do that. They're mandated. They have to follow a 504 plan. If your child has any kind of learning disability or special needs, they have to accommodate that. A private school setting is not always that way. But the one that we are at, I was so impressed. We went in and we brought in the report, and I was like, okay, this is what they say. And can you please tell me what is your plan? How do you think we should approach this? And it was the principal and the curriculum coordinator and 3 or 4 other teachers. And they brought out just stacks of papers. And they were like, okay, we can do this, this, or this. If that doesn't work, then we can do this. So it was right away. They had a plan. They were very receptive. And I think that's important. And I think as a parent, for me, early on when he was little, you just kind of take it for, if the teacher says it or the school says it, well, then that's just what it is. And at the school we were before, I didn't really question it because, it's kind of like with the doctor, like you go to the doctor, they tell you something, and so you do it because they're a doctor. Mm-hmm. But what I've learned over the course of this is that nobody is going to advocate for your child like you will, period. And so that questioning it and asking, what can you do? Are there other avenues that we can look at? And if the school that you are in does not accommodate that, you can find a school somewhere that will. Mm-hmm. So that was an eye opener for me as well, because I'm not one to really question, the teachers or the staff or anything. But once I saw, what we were seeing, we knew something was wrong and that this wasn't normal. So it helped us a lot to be in the environment we are in now, because they're completely accommodating and they have a plan. And we are going to meet, I think, like every 6 weeks to just kind of reassess, make sure everything's good and everything's working. So I'm really pleased.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, even when it comes to your health and when it comes to like your child and what's going on with your kid, you really do need to be your own advocate. I know with health stuff, I've argued with doctors, and I've purposely put on the Waterworks show just to try to get my way with doctors, because when something's wrong, and
right.
You need a pat in the head and be told, oh, don't worry, it'll take care of itself. And so being your own advocate, because it's that squeaky wheel that gets the oil.
Right. Well, and it's a fine line too, because you also don't want to be labeled as like that parent, like, oh, here comes that mom because she thinks. And I know, like at the school that one of his early schools, I was totally labeled like that. And frankly, I really don't care, because like at the end of the day, it's my kid and I want what's best for him. And if that's a problem, then, too bad for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, so it's, it is a fine line, but I'm certainly much more vocal now. And I think it's important. I think everybody should be, because there are so many resources available. And that's the other thing. Like, I didn't know, going into this, I didn't know, I didn't know what we needed or what we should do. And so it's really just kind of you're researching everything and you're asking people that you trust, and you're kind of just going in blind and figuring what works for you.
Mm-hmm. And that was one of the reasons why I know at first you're like, well, I'm not an expert, I don't know if I should come and talk about it. Ooh. But that's one of the things. It's like, even though you're not an expert, it's a way of forming a community, because who knows who's listening, who's watching, who's just starting to maybe see those things, see those symptoms, and or who doesn't have anybody around for support to, hey, let's come together, and you can find somebody so that they know you're just not alone. And it's an issue that I think also we should also talk about, literacy in America, because we have this concept where it's like, okay, we're America, we're one of the best countries out there, we've got all this wealth, all this education, but yet in some states like Louisiana, 77% of fourth graders can't even read.
Yeah.
That's unacceptable in this country.
Right.
We have no excuse. and so it's something that needs to be talked about more. So,
Mhm.
And I think there's a whole stigma surrounding books with kids these days that reading is boring, which
Mhm.
is so far from the truth. But, kids, it it's up to us to to bring up the next generation of readers to realize that reading is awesome.
Right.
And they have their iPads and they have cell phones and text messaging and Facebook, and it's up to us to bring books into that mix.
Mhm.
My husband is not really a reader at all. I mean, he read an entire series. I forget which series it was when he was on deployment, and it was like a series that I picked out for him. And I was like, I think you might like this. Like, give it a shot. I know you're not a big reader, but try this.
Mm-hmm.
And then he would email me like, I'm halfway through the second book. You need to send me the third and the fourth one right away. But like on a regular basis, he doesn't really read, and he'll read to our kids at night. But I'm the one
Right.
who's like, all right, let's go to the library, let's pick out new books, let's do story time. And I think a little teeny tiny part of me would be heartbroken if my kids grew up not loving books the way I did. Maybe a bigger teeny tiny part of me. But I'm working very hard to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I told him. I was like, there's just so much. Like, he loves Star Wars and ninjas and, all that kind of
There's so
stuff.
many
And so,
Star Wars books out there.
well, we went to the library. I was like, they have a whole Star Wars section. Look at this. And like, he was just like, what? So we go and he checks out the Yoda books, and they even do the Lego Star Wars books. So when he sees that, that's good. But see, and that too, like, you go into Barnes and Noble and you have 30 series for little girls to choose from. You've got the Babysitters Club, and you've got all these, great girls series. But for the boys, I mean, they have the Magic Tree House, which we read and he loves, and Captain Underpants. And that's really, Captain Underpants, he loves that too. But like, that's really it. So it's just been interesting for me to see that, because it's just never crossed my mind before.
Yeah, and usually it's reverse, where there's like all this stuff for boys, but
Right.
and not so much for girls. And it's almost like it's a societal thing that we don't look at, where girls are supposed to be the ones who are able to sit still. They're supposed to be the ones who like to read and do this, where like Legos are for boys, according to some of the stuff. Everything is, boy driven in the Lego world. And they're the ones who get to be, all actiony and playing with that stuff. So yeah, that's really interesting.
It really has. And so now I'm like on the lookout. And so I have my little mommy group, and I'm like, have y'all found any good, kids series other than these two, which is really all that I know of.
There is one good series. I don't know. It might be young for him. I don't know if he's too young for it or not. It was a series. I'll have to find it. I'll have to send it to you. It was and I'll post it on social media too. It's like Just Like Me, and they take like he does, but like he takes famous people, and he does. It's a children's book pointing out little facts about them, showing that they're
I've
just
seen
like,
that one.
yeah. There's there was a George Washington and Abraham Lincoln.
Okay.
Jane Goodall, Amelia Earhart, and like little facts, like the Amelia Earhart once built an obstacle course for herself in her backyard.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, stuff like that kids could relate to. So yeah, and it's like he alternates a male and female person throughout history for each book that comes out. So there's a set for boys and there's a set for girls, and vice versa. If a boy's interested in the girl one, of course, the girl's interested in one of the boy ones. So there's something that fits for every kid.
Well, that's cool. I'll have to look for that.
Yeah,
I haven't
I'll
seen
have to
that.
find it. Yeah, because I keep meaning to buy them for Lily and Landon, and then just something comes up and I haven't gotten them.
There's, we go to Barnes and Noble, and because they have the Barnes and Noble that we have here has like a train table. So,
Us too.
so we have like a whole routine. We'll go to like the little play area in the mall that the kids can run around and climb on stuff and jump around. And then we go to Barnes and Noble and play on the trains. And I look at books. And there's so many books, and maybe it's just me being cheap, but I feel like kids' books are so expensive.
Okay, I found the series. It's called Ordinary People Change the World by Brad Meltzer.
Okay, Ordinary. Brad Meltzer?
Yeah, Meltzer.
Okay.
And so he's got like the Amelia Earhart and George Washington, and let me see if they have the page where there's more. And they're illustrated books. Let's see if more of them come up. And yeah, there's he's got Albert Einstein.
Okay.
So a whole series of them. It looks like Helen Keller. But yeah, a whole series of them. But
Okay,
yeah,
thank you.
You're welcome.
But yeah, I feel like, I mean, maybe, and again, it could just be me, but I feel like kids' books are like ridiculously expensive sometimes.
Yeah.
And I don't want to buy a book and get home and have my kids be like, well, this is boring. And then it just sits there. So we go to the library and we experiment. And then if it's a smash hit, then I'll go and buy it. But I feel like what we were saying there, are so many books for girls versus boys. And I feel like it's like, I have a daughter and a son. My son is almost 2, so he's starting to get interested in books. He'll look at the pictures and point to things now, which is really exciting. But and my daughter is super into books, and I am on the flip side of it, where I'm trying to find really inspiring books where it's not all about like princesses, and I get some princess books, but I want some books that are like, well, you can be more than pretty. You can be,
right.
You can be whatever you want to be. And we just read Ada Twist the Scientist, which was super cute. It was, it's a rhyming book, which I love rhyming books. And it's about this little girl who just wanted to ask why. Like, she just asked why and what and how and where things worked. And she wanted to be a scientist, and it was all about her parents accepting that that's who she was and molding their life to help her, like, to nurture that curiosity. And it was really interesting because, number one, it was a little girl wanting to be a scientist, and number two, she was an African American little girl. So it was different on like 2 fronts, and it was a really cute story. I really liked it. But now I'm kind of being aware of the fact that I don't want to buy all these inspiring books for my daughter and leave Landon out in the cold.
Right.
So now I have to find like a balance. But I don't know what that balance is yet.
Yeah.
So now, speaking of kids, Girl in Disguise. Because I know I totally read that. It talks about what's interesting, transitioning from the kids discussion into Girl in Disguise. We have somebody who doesn't have children in the book, and I don't think I'm giving away any spoilers, because I'm pretty sure by chapter 17 she's mentioned once that she can't have children. So let's get some of your thoughts on this whole character with infertility. Sorry.
She seems very guarded about it, which I can understand. I'm hoping that maybe, because I've gotten a little bit of it in the story, but not a whole lot as to what exactly is happening. But I think set in the time period that this book is in, if she had had children, then this career would have not even been an option for her at all. So I really like how she's written her, and how brazen her character is, and how she takes all those men head on. But I don't know.
I really like one thing I've started noticing in more and more books lately is how, and maybe it was just the books that I was reading before, because Diana, I'm the thriller reader in this partnership. That's kind of my genre.
Suspense.
And Diana is the historical fiction person. So we rope each other in our genres from time to time, but she's definitely brought me more into the historical fiction world. And I love reading about gay characters set in these different times, because it wasn't, it's not a new issue. It's not a new lifestyle. It's been around forever. So like when we read I Shall Be Near to You last year, there was a gay soldier fighting for the Union. And I forget do you remember his name? I don't remember what his name is. And then in A Girl in Disguise, it's DeForest.
Yes. That surprised me too, by the way. Did not see that coming.
No, neither did I. I read that part. I was like, oh, really?
So flirty. Yeah. Yeah, all of a sudden she shows up at this body, she falls into the body house, and it's like, whoa, oh, okay, this is happening.
Right.
And he's supposed to be the ladies' man. He's supposed to be the flirt and the seducer of women, and I love his character, and I'm a little bummed out that, or I was when I was reading the book, I was a little bummed out that she turned him down for his.
Yes, that happened. Okay. I was kind of surprised too, because I was like, even though obviously it's not going to be a romantic relationship, intellectually, I would think they would make a good partnership. I was very surprised. So I'm wondering if maybe there's not some romance coming down the line for her, maybe in the book. I don't know. I know.
I know nothing. I can't say anything.
Yes.
Join us next week, and then you'll find out.
I know. Well, I'll promise I'll have it read by next week.
Oh yeah, yeah. Greer and I are. I got a whole lot of unpacking to do when Greer gets on the show.
Oh my gosh!
Already have a list of questions and things she and I are going to need to discuss. And I'm sure you probably will be sending me questions about this too once you finish.
I'm sure, because I'm like, I know. I just feel like I have these things, and I'm like, okay, she has to address this. This has to be done. This needs to take place. So I'm assuming it's all going to be wrapped up.
I think once you get to chapter 22 or 23, the book just goes like that. It's a fast read. When you sit down and read it, I mean, granted, I'm not going to read it in a full 48 hours like Michelle did.
Once you hit, I think 24 is when it starts unraveling, and 26 is when I started texting Diana, going, I am so pissed off at this book right now. And then once she got to that part, she texted me back and she goes, I so know what you mean.
Right.
Yeah. And then, it's she's got a satisfying ending to the point, which, like you've read, Stacey, you've read, The Magician's Lie.
Yes, I loved that. I loved it.
Yeah, she's got a knack for having that satisfying ending to it, where it's like everything's all tied up in this pretty bow. And you're like, okay, I feel satisfied with this, even though I want more of Kate and more of Kate's story. This story in and of itself, I don't feel like she's left any loose ends.
Okay.
And now I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I just was like, yay. I'm glad because I'm like, oh gosh, because sometimes because I just finished a book and I was like, I mean she wrapped it up to a degree, but then you're like, but wait, I no, you need to tell me about this person and what happens, and so I even messaged that author and I was like, okay, I have a lot of questions. I feel like you need to write like some sort of companion book to go with this because I still have a whole lot of questions about this character. So I'm glad that it gets wrapped up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, after, I did research when I first started reading the book, and after, you read it and it's set in Chicago, and Chicago is like right there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I talk to people here and I'm like, oh, I'm reading Girl in Disguise and it's set in Chicago and it's all about the Pinkertons. And I get offended now if I talk to someone and they don't know who that is. How can you not know? Like, it's America's first female detective. Like, this is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, my boss is from Chicago. He knew what Pinkerton was, and I'm gonna have to loan him the book once we finish with it next week.
It's such a good book, and it's such an interesting story. And I have to go back now and reread the last page because my mind is like totally still into the water and that ending.
Mm-hmm.
I have to like kind of refresh my memory. And when you time jump like that from one book to another, you kind of like get jet lagged a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah. I was looking at what book I'm gonna read next. I'm like, I don't know, because I finished June today.
Oh, how was that?
Oh my God, I loved it.
Really?
Absolutely loved it. Yes. I know that like some people are, I don't want to put too much hype into it because I know some people are like, oh, with all this hype, it's not living up to the hype. Because when you hype something up too much, you're like, yeah, but it's really good. And it goes back and forth. But it's not like every other chapter and you don't have 8 different perspectives on it. So it's like 3 or 4 chapters in present day, 3 or 4 chapters in the 1950s, and it's just such a compelling read too, where it just sucks you right in to the story from the very beginning. And I love it where it's the house that it's set in, where Cassie, June's granddaughter, is a character in and of itself, and I love that. And just like with Girl in Disguise, that sucked me in. Like when I first read that first page, I was totally picturing like with Sherlock, or like was it the Lock, Stock, and Smoking Barrel movies where you like have that zoom in
like all hazy.
Yeah, like and they zoom in and they're like, okay, this and this and this are gonna happen. Like in the most recent Sherlock movies, where in the movies too, Sherlock movies and in the show, where they're like, okay, this will happen, and then this, and then I do this, and this will happen, and I could totally see that happening in the book. So I hope they turn this into like a movie or like a TV series, because like this one whole book would be like 2 seasons of itself.
Yeah.
There's one series that I'm dying to see, but I don't have HBO, but it's the Big Little Lies series with Nicole Kidman and I forget, Reese Witherspoon.
Yes.
Based on the book. Did you read the book?
Yes, I love Leanne Lord.
Oh my gosh.
Oh God, so good. So good.
I picked that book up I was shopping for a book to take on vacation with me to the Dominican Republic, and I was like, oh, this looks good. And it's you have to read it, Diana, because it's really good.
Yes.
And
oh my gosh, yes.
It's all about a murder mystery, and it rotates between 3 different points of view and an interview with the sheriff or the detective, and he's trying to solve this murder. And it's all set around like a PTA, like a group of moms. And as my kids are too young to go to school, but I know that those different types of moms are out there. And I would like text my friend going, oh my God, these moms are bitches. Like, I hate them all. but and I'm really curious to see how they did the series, because if they would just give Diana and me an unlimited amount of money, we could make some really good movies out of books.
Oh, totally could. Totally could. Oh, we never casted Mortensen, which he's come up in 17. Now, was Mortensen? Mortensen was just another agent. Okay.
So, Stacey, we have a fantasy cast going.
Okay.
For everyone. Have you met Hattie yet?
No.
Okay. So you
Hattie doesn't come up until like 19 or 20.
Okay. So we have a couple options for Kate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who did we have for Kate? I suggested Jennifer Lawrence.
I love her. her.
But we needed somebody older. We were talking about Claire from Outlander.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, she'd be good.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was picturing her as a brunette. I don't know why.
Well, Claire from Outlander, the Outlander TV show, is a brunette.
Okay.
I have to pull her up now. It's like her real name's Cassandra, I believe. If I remember
Catriona.
That's it, Catriona.
Okay. I know I'm pronouncing that wrong. But, and then who was our cast now? Why am I forgetting? We had Dean Norris as Pinkerton.
Mm-hmm. And we had
Chris Pine, not Klein.
Not Klein, Chris Pine as Bellamy.
Okay, I can see that.
Yes, especially when they have that in the very beginning where they have this great chemistry, the two of them.
When they're in the bar and she realizes that he's one of Pinkerton's men and he doesn't know who she is.
And see, I was thinking that they would hook up, and then it just went a completely different direction, and I was like, what's happening?
See, I was reading it, and I'm like, who is this guy with his cold eyes? Like, shoo, let her work.
Oh,
okay. So do you think it was
Mortensen? I think I just found Mortensen. Tobias plays Jack Randall and Frank.
No.
No, you don't think he's enough for that?
Hold on.
Because Mortensen's, he's got to be sleazy. He's got to be evil. He's got to have that where he could pull off the gentlemanly thing, but you just can't trust him, and you can't trust him because you've met him by chapter 17.
Oh, absolutely. And he's not nice.
Yeah. No. And he gets worse.
Where I am right now, he's been shot. Well, that is Hattie. Isn't that Hattie?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. He's been shot because
Lively is Hattie.
No, I know.
Yes.
I know who Mortensen is.
Who?
Did you see Girl on a Train? The movie?
Yes.
The husband of the girl who was murdered.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. I love him.
Hold on. I'm at 1% on my phone. I don't know if I'll be able to pull up this picture. But he's perfect.
Yes. It's not. Is it Justin Theroux? Yeah, it was the husband of the girl who got killed, or the character.
No, not the main character.
Luke Evans, who played Gaston in Beauty and the Beast.
Yes.
Ooh, yeah. That's a good one.
It's one sexy villain. I'm sorry, but if I was Belle and I had the opportunity for Luke Evans,
I would have made
I'm sorry, Beast.
There. But the library.
I know.
Oh, the library.
Yeah, I mean,
in that movie, that was my main concern. I was like, don't cut the library and do not destroy it. Like,
They did a wonderful job with that library.
They did.
They did a wonderful job with that library.
They did a wonderful job with that movie.
Yes, that is true. I still have a problem with her skirt lengths.
Diana and I had this huge debate about her. You know how she had her like
short in the movie.
I never didn't even notice it.
Okay, it's the historical nerd in me. During that time.
Okay, well, they do like dragging the ground. Yeah, now that's
Yeah, if a girl shows her ankle, she's a whore, and she's got her skirts up to her knees. My Belle is not a whore.
So my take on that was because she had like one end of her dress like tucked up so you could see Like she was wearing like knickers or whatever. I don't know what they're called.
Modern.
And that was my take. I'm like, well, it's showing that she's a more modern woman. Like
Modern woman.
yeah, that was my take on it.
Yeah. I like it.
Diana's like, no, it was historically inaccurate.
Yes, that is my only. I mean, I get that you're doing it as a play, and it's not actual history per se, though there's a lot of historical influence in this. But I mean, come on, lengthen the skirts just a little bit.
That's hilarious.
And
And see, I wonder.
still look like a girl.
That's so funny. I never paid attention to the skirt.
Now be in the base for you. You're welcome.
When I watched, Diana saw the movie before I did, and when I went to see the movie, I saw that, and I was like, oh, I need to talk to Diana about this because I have this whole theory, like she's a modern woman, and it shows that she's like stepping into the future and breaking the mold with tradition. And as soon as I brought it up, she's like, no, that dress is too short.
Wrong.
Yeah, she needed a matron there with a ruler, like I used to get when I was in high school. And
where the skirts could not be shorter than your fingertips against your legs.
Yes.
And I was a tall girl, so every skirt was too short.
Yeah, with those of us with orangutan arms, it doesn't really work that well.
Yeah, right?
I was never the stylish girl in school.
No, me either.
Though I did make the high water jeans hot before they were hot. I will give you that.
I'm rocking the mom jeans now. I like the high rise that they have, the high rise shorts now. Not because I like wearing midriffs, but because it like holds everything in just a little bit.
Yes.
There's function to them.
It's like a pre-made Spanx in your pants.
And you can still wear like a normal shirt over it.
Yeah, you can tuck everything in it, and then you just have your shirt out, and nobody knows.
Nope. And you don't have to wear a Spanx, so it's not like you're wearing 2 layers in 200% humidity and dying.
It's horrible down here. It's awful.
I can just imagine. It's like, it's miserable here. It felt like it was 1,000 degrees outside.
Yeah.
I lived in Central Texas for about 3.5 years or so. So yeah, I totally get your humidity, and I grew up in New York, so yeah, humidity.
It's
terrible.
My hair doesn't quite know what to do in this weather. It's like, do we frizz? Do we curl? What's going on? So we ponytail.
Ponytail, or just a bun up on the top.
Absolutely.
Well, this was a really fast hour. Like
that was fast.
I just looked up and we're at past 11. So we are at the end of our time here. But thank you so much, Stacy, for coming on and talking books and literacy. We had a great time with you.
Thank you so much for having me. I really loved it.
Oh, yay. We will have you on again for sure.
Oh, please do. Thank you.
Yes.
And next week we are having Greer on the show to talk about Girl in Disguise and our list of questions. And I know Greer has been watching every week, so
prepare
we'll
have to get her take on our fantasy cast.
Yes, I'm curious to know who she has cast.
Yes, and maybe we might have influenced her on this too.
So it's same time next week, and I think that's it.
Yeah.
Well, thank y'all so much. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
All right. Good night.
Bye.